September 12th, 1997. A man walked into the building of a company that had fired him 24 hours earlier. He still had his keys. He still knew every camera angle, every guard's break schedule, and he knew which nights the vault doors would be left open. By morning, $18.9 million was gone. The FBI knew exactly who did it within hours. They just couldn't prove it for 2 more years. For 6 years, Alan Pace had one job: keep Dunbar Armored's Los Angeles depot safe. He was the regional safety inspector, so he checked the fire exits, logged the camera blind spots, and he knew which guards took smoke breaks at the same time every night. Pace had grown up in Compton with 5 friends he'd known since childhood: Eric Boyd, Eugene Hill, Freddie McCrary, Terry Brown, and Thomas Johnson. None of them had the access that Pace did, but all of them had his trust. For months, Pace photographed the facility on Mateo Street. He timed the security cameras down to the second, and he learned the one detail that would make the entire plan possible. On Friday nights, when the largest volume of cash moved through the building, the vault stayed open. September 11th, 1997. Alan Pace drove to work for the last time as a Dunbar employee. He had been with the company for 6 years. That morning, his supervisor called him into his office and told him that his employment was being terminated. The official reason was tampering with company vehicles. There was no dramatic confrontation, no raised voices. Pace just handed over his company ID, walked out onto Mateo Street, and got in his car. What Dunbar Armored didn't know was that Alan Pace had spent the better part of the last year memorizing everything about them. They had just fired the one man who knew exactly how to walk back in, and he still had his keys. Later that same night, Alan Pace and 5 of his childhood friends showed up to a house party in Los Angeles. They arrived together and they stayed long enough to be seen by enough people, long enough to have their presence remembered. They talked to people, they laughed, and they made sure that there would be witnesses who could place them at this party. What none of those witnesses knew was that one by one, quietly, the 6 men slipped out of the party. They had somewhere to be, and they were already running behind on schedule. Pace knew that on Friday nights, a skeleton crew ran the facility. He knew how many guards were on shift. He knew which corners of the building were the blind spots, and the 6 men moved through the building as if they belonged there. They went for the guards first. One by one, as each guard came in for their scheduled break, they were met in the staff cafeteria by masked men. Each guard was restrained with zip ties and had their radios taken away. Then they went to the vault, and it was open, exactly as Pace had known it would be on a Friday night. The 6 men began loading cash into rolling bins and duffel bags, moving the money from the vault into the back of the U-Haul waiting outside. The loading took approximately 30 minutes. When it was done, the 6 men walked out the same way they had come in, and then the U-Haul pulled away onto Mateo Street. No sirens, no alarms, and nobody chasing them. Just a quiet Friday night in Los Angeles, and $18.9 million gone. When the first Dunbar Armored employee arrived for the morning shift, they found the night shift guards restrained and the vault stripped empty. The U-Haul was already long gone. The cash had been split amongst the 6 men, and it was all done before the sun came up. The FBI arrived at the Mateo Street facility within hours of the discovery. They processed the scene, interviewed every guard, and began pulling every piece of surveillance footage they could find. The guards described 6 figures moving with deliberate efficiency through the building. No confusion about where they were going. The FBI opened a full investigation, and within hours of beginning that investigation, one name kept surfacing. A former regional safety inspector, a man who had been fired from his position there exactly 1 day before. Alan Pace III. Within hours, the FBI was almost certain they had their guy. But knowing who did something and being able to prove it in a federal courtroom are two entirely different things. The FBI placed Alan Pace under surveillance immediately. They watched his movements and waited for him to make a mistake. But for 6 months, Alan Pace gave them absolutely nothing to work with. He did not buy a new car, he did not make any expensive purchases, and he lived as though the $18.9 million did not exist. The other 5 men maintained the same discipline as well. Then, approximately 6 months after the robbery, they carefully began to move the money through a Los Angeles immigration attorney named David Matsumoto. Matsumoto built a system designed to make stolen cash look like legitimate income. Shell companies were formed, fake employment records were constructed, and real estate purchases were made using laundered funds. For almost 2 years, it worked. The FBI's investigation continued, but the case made no progress. Tips came in, but all of it led nowhere. Investigators were reassigned to other cases, and the Dunbar robbery case became one of the most frustrating open cases in the FBI. That is, until one of them made a big mistake. In late 1999, Eugene Hill walked into a real estate broker's office in Los Angeles and handed over a stack of cash towards a property purchase. He had done this kind of transaction before, using the laundering system that Matsumoto had constructed, and it worked every single time. But this time, Eugene Hill failed to notice something still attached to the bills he was handing over. A paper currency strap with the name of the bank that the bills were counted for and the exact date that the counting had taken place. The date on the strap matched the night of the Dunbar robbery, and the real estate broker noticed it and called the police. Within days, Eugene Hill was in federal custody, and he had given investigators everything they needed. Every name, every location where the cash had been stored, and every detail of how it was laundered through Matsumoto's network. 2 years of silence, 2 years of discipline, and 2 years of careful, patient work, undone completely by a paper band that nobody had thought to remove from the stack of bills. April 23, 2001. Alan Pace III stood before a federal judge in Los Angeles, and he was sentenced to 24 years in federal prison. The other 4 men each received sentences ranging from 8 to 17 years. Eugene Hill received a reduced sentence in exchange for his testimony, and David Matsumoto was disbarred and sentenced to 2.5 years. Alan Pace served his sentence at a federal correctional institution in Safford, Arizona, and he was released on October 1, 2020, after spending nearly 20 years in prison. Out of the $18.9 million stolen, federal investigators recovered approximately $5 million in total, and the remaining $13 to $14 million has never been found. Somewhere in America, there is a significant amount of money that has never been explained and never been recovered. And the people who know where it is aren't talking. If you made it this far, thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel so you never miss the next story.